Hey, good morning. I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, broadcasting to you from beautiful Plymouth. Beautiful Plymouth. It's going to be a beautiful day today, high 70 degrees. Happy Wednesday. Great to have you here today. We have some very important stories to cover. First, we're going to bring you up to date on what happened in Worcester yesterday. Lots happened in Worcester yesterday. Very exciting. And Governor Healy's energy plan. A lot of people are talking about the $10 billion that are going to be saved. That's the headline. But I think there's this other nefarious aspect of what got announced yesterday, and that has to do with your electrical meter. There was a landslide of announcements on the energy front yesterday, and most of them were, if we could just put it in a short way, I think this is the way Paul Craney from Mass Fiscal explained it. It wasn't reform. It was a confession. It was a confession that the current policies didn't work, and now we're going to try something else. We're going to double down on stupid without attacking the leading cause of all of this, which is the climate nuts led by Maura Healey herself to thrust us towards this net zero emissions goal, which is not as far away as you may think. Yesterday morning, I posted this video that I got off of Instagram, and wow, I was just shocked how you guys responded. Captured, not kidnapped. Hingham lady from Martha's Vineyard thinks Boston ERO reports to her. And it was just, she's also from Martha's Vineyard. And I was just astounded by how you guys latched onto this and got 181 or 5 reposts, which is a lot for me. And some of you are tracking down the husband. He has pronouns in his bio, of course. He probably makes a lot of money as the managing director of some financial services company, co-lead wealth and asset management practice. It was just amazing how you guys tracked her down. And then you tracked down her portfolio. And, of course, this is Brooke Barletta's portfolio about the George Floyd protest in 2020. And I am a big fan of black and white, although, I could critique this from a stylistic point of view, but I won't. But I thought that because, as some of you might be aware, I do black and white. This is my favorite camera right over here, as you know, my Pentax K1000, the tank. But here's her portfolio. This is the one that got me the most. Blue is not a skin color. Blue does not experience racism. And, of course, it's a guy sitting in a field, apparently all by himself, a white kid, young man, using the term man, loosely, with the mask on. A white kid with the mask in a field by himself, somehow spouting about who experiences racism and who doesn't. So that was on her portfolio. You guys did an unbelievable job tracking her down yesterday. Here's a self-portrait. Here's one of her self-portraits, apparently. Hingham, Martha's Vineyard, rich husband, photographer. You did a great job yesterday. I was astounded by how many DMs I got yesterday. Like, it was on fire. So if you have some story idea, you could send it to me that way. But a lot of you sent me some story ideas that way. You could also go over to jackgately.com and use the tip line. So there's the Gut News tip line over at jackgately.com. There you go. And yeah, you could use that if you wanted as well. If you do use the tip line, make sure you give me enough information to go with. I've gotten several tips over there that have not been enough. So make sure you provide enough if you get over to jackgately.com to provide a tip. So thank you so much for that. It was very, very interesting. And apparently we're on to something there, right? And if you ever hear me say, like, the people that like get under my skin the most are white wealthy women from Hingham and Acton. How many times have you heard me say Hingham and Acton, and Martha's Vineyard, of course? And one of you said, and I don't know who this was, but it was pretty astute. Didn't the zero tolerance for illegal immigrants start in Martha's Vineyard, right? Of course it did. Remember when DeSantis sent the immigrants there? And of course they had zero tolerance for illegal immigrants, and they were cheering them as Charlie Baker took them off the island in like 36 hours or less. Right? So that's where the complete hypocrisy of the left was discovered or revealed with an epic varsity level move by DeSantis. Let's give him credit to send the illegals to Martha's Vineyard, to the sanctuary island of Martha's Vineyard, and then have them have a complete flip out that they were exposed as people who didn't want illegal aliens in their backyard. Also, I saw this tweet from ERO Boston yesterday. Boston ICE is not targeting nannies. Rumors to the contrary are false and unnecessarily risk the safety of our officers and agents. And I kind of think that this was a misstep by ICE, if I could say that, because the way I look at it, using the old Howie Carr, never explain, never complain aspect of it. Why shine a light on these incredibly ridiculous rumors that are out there about ICE? Because there are some rumors out there about ICE, for instance, based out of Washington, D.C., that they're arresting nannies in playgrounds. Yeah, and now, of course, it's being spread to Reddit and the Back Bay. Heard ICE raided Back Bay, scooping up nannies, possibly on Clarendon Street. So you know the thing. They're just going to be spreading all sorts of crazy rumors about ICE because they're completely and absolutely unhinged. Now, let's talk about the flip side of that. The Democrats are fired up. Yesterday, up in Beverly, the Republican state rep candidate, he got, you can't really sugarcoat it. He was defeated soundly. The numbers that I saw, I don't know if this is true, but something like the Democrat got like something like 75% of the vote. If I don't know if that number is true, but I think two people sent it to me. So he got a lot of votes. She got a lot of votes. Hannah Bowen, I think, is the winner. Medley Long, who I never met him, but it seemed like a nice guy, only got 25%. The Democrats are fired up, and I think there's been a sprinkling of other nonpartisan races at the municipal level where the Republicans have not done very well. And I know those are not partisan races, but usually even at your local town, you can kind of sense who's a Republican and who's a Democrat, even though the ballot is not coded that way. But there have been apparently a sprinkling of Republicans who have gotten taken out because the Democrats here in Massachusetts are so fired up. Hold on one sip. By the way, using my mask fiscal Yeti, did I say mask? No. Mass fiscal Yeti. Not everyone gets a mass fiscal Yeti. Thank you, Mass Fiscal. And since we're talking about that, I guess that kind of comes to the answer as to why the Democrats are continuing to move to the far left after the November 2024 election. Back in the November 1994 election, when Bill Clinton got smoked, he moved back to the center. And I was hoping that the Democrats would move back to the center because we had a healthier country. We were more unified. And as I usually talk about it, I'd much rather have a debate about what the marginal tax rate is going to be. They're going to say X, and we're going to say X minus 3, and we'll have a debate about that. I'd much rather have a debate about those types of things, because then we're in the middle, or as some people say, we're arguing over the 49-yard line, which is not a phrase that I usually use, but the thing, we're in the middle of the field. But now I understand why the Democrats are going so far left. It's because it energizes their base. And if this is true, that they're winning these small little municipal elections and then really overperforming in the state representative race, although I don't have the data of how Dem that district leaned. I thought we had a chance. I was told that we had a chance at winning that, but I guess well, that didn't happen. Let's just put it that way. But now we know when the Democrats go to the extreme, it's bringing out and probably expanding wider their base with this message that they have going out there. By the way, more good news on the national stage. Federal judge has just ruled that President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport the gang members is legal. Ramp up the deportation flights. Thank you, Nick Sortor. I don't know how to, I'm awful with names. But yeah, more good news on the national front. Also, down in New Jersey, U.S. Attorney Haba, her office is undertaking a thorough investigation in coordination with our federal agency partners on what transpired late last week at the Delaney Hall detention facility. As is true of every investigation this office handles, all available evidence will be thoroughly reviewed prior to making a determination on how to proceed. I do not take these matters lightly. And this is the situation where there are a number of elected officials down there, all Democrats, how do I want to phrase it? Causing a ruckus, we'll just say, outside of the ICE detention facility in New Jersey. And the mayor down there got arrested. There was a congresswoman that was in the kerfuffle. Yeah, it was a thing. And this happened basically the same day / next day as what happened in Worcester last week. And I think what we're going to be probably looking at here, what I hope happens, is that the U.S. attorney here in Massachusetts, Leah Foley, I hope that she starts to take a look at what happened in Worcester last Thursday. So if Alina Haba is taking a look at what happened in New Jersey late last week, Leah Foley should be taking a look at what happened in Worcester last week as well. We have the city councilor that was involved. I mean, literally, you can see the city councilor holding the arms of the alleged domestic violence perpetrator so that ICE couldn't make the arrest. And yesterday, when I was in Worcester, I did acquire the criminal complaint, the statement of facts at the courthouse, and I had a report for you. We'll talk about that in a second. But one thing that was really interesting to me is, and sometimes in politics, you have to watch what does not happen. Everyone's focused on this happened. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more astute and focus on what didn't happen. And what didn't happen is that City Councilor Haxhiaj, whatever her name is, you know the thing, Haxhiaj or whatever. I got to come up with a nickname for her. Somebody help me with that. She did not speak at the rally. I thought for sure she would be attending the rally, but I was at the rally for like 90% of the rally. She did not speak. And by the time I left, the city council meeting had already started, and she was at the city council. I don't think she spoke at the rally. And I just watched or through speed, just by moving the progress bar across. And I didn't think she spoke at the city council meeting. At least I didn't see that she spoke. Maybe she did. All of a sudden, she's keeping a low profile. Well, yeah, maybe because she's concerned about the feds. That would be my theory, that she's concerned about the feds. Let's cut to the mainstream media coverage of what happened yesterday in Worcester.
Mr. Lisa, outside a rally was held in response to recent ICE action.
Yeah, tensions are high in the city right now. And even though the city council meeting was moved to be virtual tonight, there was an extended public comment period so that dozens of people could call in and voice their concerns over this recent ICE activity.
And they're taking our people from our community. They are kidnapping them and taking them and detaining them to unknown places. These are our families.
Dozens of
if you get detained, and the media has published exactly where the woman went. So they know where they're going, and they're not being kidnapped, they're being captured.
people fired up and protesting outside Worcester City Hall Tuesday after a chaotic arrest involving ICE agents and Worcester police was caught on camera last week on Eureka Street.
That right there in the white shirt is the city councilor at question. And why was the arrest chaotic? Why was the arrest chaotic? Because the loose hotline, the ICE hotline, which is the executive director of the ICE hotline, is Delita Roca, who's Maura Healey's appointee to the State Board of Education. They activated their people and got them over to Eureka Street, which is a nice little side street I stopped by yesterday. They got them over there to cause trouble. Why was the arrest chaotic? Because these far leftists got over to Eureka Street purposely to cause trouble, to have this whole thing blow up so that they could advance their oppressor versus oppressed theory of or worldview. That's exactly what happened. And the media has just taken it as Channel 25 here, hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker.
I'm here because people being dragged off the street.
Last week, ICE arrested a Brazilian woman who they
by the way, just as you see here,
who they say is here illegally.
Hold on, let me just see if I get this. This is Ashley Spring. That's Ashley Spring, right? I'm pretty sure that's Ashley Spring right there on the hood of the vehicle, and I'm pretty sure that vehicle is driven by ICE. She is there on. We're going to get to Ashley Spring. I'm pretty sure that's her.
Who they say is here
illegally
and wanted for assault and battery. While trying to detain her, others tried to stop police.
And there was the city councilor.
Detain her, others tried to stop police.
I'm pretty
like
sure
Ashley
there
Spring.
is the city
trying
councilor.
To detain her, others tried to stop police, like Ashley Spring.
Making
she was then
contact
arrested
with
for
with the police officer. And that's Ashley Spring as well.
assaulting police officers.
And what I see here in Worcester.
And here she is here at the rally. Here's Ashley Spring, candidate for Springfield, Worcester School Committee. She is wearing the T-shirt of Neighbor to Neighbor. Now, if you don't know who Neighbor to Neighbor is, again, we've covered this. They are the organization that raises funds for the ICE hotline. And the executive director of Neighbor to Neighbor, just like I mentioned a moment ago, is literally Maura Healey's appointee to the State Board of Education. So yesterday at the rally, Ashley Spring is wearing the T-shirt of the ICE Hotline organization, effectively. And by the way, if you want to learn more or watch that video, you can get over to MassiveUturn.com, MassiveUturn.com at the all-new MassiveUturn.com. Put your email in there. It's now a daily email. And if you click the link, I was able to track down Ashley Spring outside of Worcester City Hall yesterday after she spoke at the rally. She usually has a lot to say, but when I asked her questions like, are you concerned about getting prosecuted by the U.S. attorney for obstruction? Oh, no, I have nothing to worry about. Ashley Spring is actually now facing multiple charges, including dispensing an unknown liquid, according to Mass Live, directly point and spray an unknown liquid in a bottle at a Worcester police officer. Among other charges. She'll be back in court on her, I think it's 4 charges on June 23rd. June 23rd. And of course, the way the left is working right now, this will only be good. This will all this controversy for her will probably propel her to the Worcester School Committee. That's how nuts the Democrat Party is now. The Democrat Party doesn't look at this and say, oh, maybe this person's a little on it. No, they don't do that. Instead, they probably will promote her to the Worcester School Committee, even though yesterday I went down to the courthouse in Worcester, and the court documents, which I have right over there, confirm that the person that ICE went to arrest last Thursday is subject to criminal complaint and charged with the domestic violence situation on a pregnant woman. So I asked Ashley Spring on the sidewalk why she was defending illegal alien that are accused of domestic violence. She wouldn't answer the question. But we also have over at my feed or over at Massive U-Turn, you can watch the report. Again, we can confirm that the illegal alien that ICE arrested last Thursday on Eureka Street has a pending charge for domestic violence on a pregnant woman. This is who the Democrats defend. They defend, how do I want to say this? Illegal alien criminals. They defend illegal alien criminals. In the meantime, the mainstream media, just like Fox 25, as you just said, or Boston.com, which is owned by the Boston Globe. I'm ashamed. Residents rebuke Worcester City Council after chaotic ICE arrest. City Council moved to Zoom pending public safety concerns. Understand that the chaotic arrest, as we said, the chaotic was engineered by the left. They wanted it chaotic. And we do have, hold on, let me just get my show notes here. A couple of interesting comments from the Worcester City Council meeting here. Let's go full screen, and I'm going to just bring that up. It was how do we want to say this? Extended. So you called me into order. Worcester
we
City
tell
Council
treatment and
meeting.
Hi, my name is Brett. I live in Worcester. I'm speaking on 9A. Tonight, we've heard a ton of statements pleading for this council.
This is an example of how unhinged these people are in Worcester. I wish there was a picture of Brett, but you can just listen here. And you can also see to the upper left-hand corner that Haxhiaj, or whatever her name is, she is present at the meeting.
To recognize humanity, to recognize common sense, and meaningful change in response to Eureka Street. Unfortunately, if you've been to enough of these meetings, you know that a majority of these counselors are not actually listening to these pleas and statements. A few of them actually voted to ignore these last few testimonies. That's because a majority of counselors are not going to do what must be done to stand up to the next 4 years of abductions and police brutality.
Abductions and police brutality. You see, even prior to this ICE thing in Worcester last Thursday, the far left has been attacking the Worcester Police Department for quite some time. And they got the Biden administration to do it for them as well.
Some of them are doing that work. I commend those who are, but not a majority of this council, and we need a majority. The best thing we can do to change how our community responds to the abduction of mothers and the violent arrests of
the abduction of mothers who are also charged with domestic violence.
16-year-old girls is to show up on Tuesday, November 4th this year and fire the counselors complicit in the systemic violence of ICE and the WPD. I encourage everyone on this call to make a plan to vote, find out which incumbent counselors are on your ballot, and find out whether they are actually interested in keeping the people of this city safe from a violent federal government. It's not hard to find out. And
violent federal government. There was one guy that seemed to be, how do I want to say this? Reasonable. There was one guy that I thought was reasonable. It's not Esther. He comes right after this. His name is Walter, I think.
Hi, can you hear me?
Here he is here.
Yep.
Just
say your
listen
name
to
and city
this.
residence.
Listen to
Sure.
this one guy. I'm not going to say that I agree with everything that this guy Walter has to say, but he does sound reasonable. You know, not nearly as unhinged as Brett or Ashley Spring. Listen to what this guy says. I'm sure it was very unpopular with the far left.
It's Walter Bird from the city of Worcester. I want to say an individual tonight said that the Worcester police should not have responded when ICE called. And I shudder to think what might have happened had they not, because of the atmosphere that existed at that moment. But that individual is wrong about another claim. Police did receive calls from residents at the scene, including one who was instructed to do so by a city councilor. It's on camera. And I agree, WPD should have been called. Now, like many, I was upset with what I saw. Seeing a young girl on the ground was disturbing. And here's the thing. Right now, whether we agree or not, there are laws in place. Saying they don't exist doesn't make it so. ICE is not required to produce a warrant in a public space.
Oh, whoa. The voice of reason. The voice of reason. ICE, it does not, if you're some far left activist or next door neighbor, ICE has no obligation to show you the warrant. Thank you, Walter.
That is not discussable. It's a fact. That's the law. And I don't know that I agree with it. Should WPD have asked for a warrant?
I don't know if I agree with it, but that's the law. So you can see, like, he is a little bit reasonable, but I'm not endorsing this. Because, like, do you want to live in a country where ICE has to explain everything to some rando person on the sidewalk? No.
I'm not sure whether they're allowed to or not, but either way, ICE is not required to produce a warrant in a public space. And it seems tonight we're being told to pick and choose which laws to defend and which laws to enforce. I'm saddened by the veiled and not so veiled threats that have been taking place tonight, and I certainly hope the council and police are taking note of it. I'm trying to keep my emotions in check, unlike many of the others who called in tonight, and I bet I actually agree with some of them on some of the issues. I also believe there are ways to fight for what we want and ways not to. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I wouldn't have reacted aggressively if my mother was being taken away from me. But I also know if we do not have laws and respect for those laws, even the ones we vehemently disagree with, we have chaos and anarchy. And anyone who thinks that that is preferable to the system we have now is delusional.
Thank you so much, Walter. That's exactly right. But Walter, here's the thing. The far left wants chaos and anarchy. That's how they advance their political power, Walter. So you're onto something there, but understand that's what they want. Because when you have a situation where you're saying, ICE, give us it's the community decides. The community decides. That is anarchy, Walter. And that's what they want. And so I'm not saying I agree with Walter on everything. I'm sure I don't. But he was one of the very few voices of reason last night at the Worcester City Council hearing. And he's exactly right. If we let the community decide, that is anarchy. Don't you know that we, the community, voted last November? And a big secret here, folks. Trump won. We won nationwide. All the blue wall states, the whole thing. We won. We might not have won here in Massachusetts, but we won. And that is the national community voted, and we both won the Electoral College and the popular vote, and we won. And that's why the guys with the badges and the guns, they represent us through the consent of the governed. And when you say, no, the community decided that they're going to be free, that is anarchy. And Walter, you're 100% right, and you're probably one of the few people that are still have some voice of reason in the city of Worcester. So excellent observation, Walter. You are at least, a reasonable person. I'm not saying I agree with everything, but reasonable. We could probably sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about this and part as friends. So, but having said that, the far left is completely unhinged in Worcester, and they're a perfect representation of what's going on throughout Massachusetts, and it's working for them from an electoral point of view. Judy says she could probably beat Healy right now. I think what you mean is that Ashley Spring is ginning up all of this attention for herself to the point that she's almost more popular than Maura Healey. I think that's what you just said. I think you might be right. Maybe Maura can get more popular by jumping on the hood of an ICE vehicle the next time ICE comes to arrest somebody in Waltham or whatever. Maybe you're right, Judy. All right, this is doing wonders for Ashley Springs' electoral chances. Right, she's never had a better chance. She's never had a better chance at getting elected to school committee. By the way, is Ashley Spring eligible for the ballot? Because I heard on This Week in Worcester that she voted in the town of Bolton last November. That's what This Week in Worcester published. So I think sometime this month, the city clerk's office will make a determination about that. We'll see. I'm not speculating. I don't know, but that's what I read in This Week in Worcester. There was an allegation that she voted in Berlin, but apparently, according to This Week in Worcester, she voted in Bolton, and you have to be a resident of Worcester for a year before you run for school committee, from what I understand from the article. I don't know how you can satisfy that requirement if you voted in another town last November, but it's Worcester, so I imagine she'll make the ballot. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, the Governor Maura Healey has announced a plan that she would have never otherwise announced. She was forced to do this by the political optics of the utility price hikes this past winter. She would have never went out to try to save you money if she didn't have to. And as Paul Craney said yesterday, this is not reform. This is a confession. But as I also talked to you yesterday in the yesterday morning show, this is a perfect blueprint of how Democrats in the far left operate. They F up the marketplace, and then they're shocked. They're shocked that the marketplace is not operating right. And then they come to the rescue without acknowledging their participation, their culpability in the fact that the market doesn't work. They never say, oh, what we did before didn't work. No, they never say that. They just say, let's do more. The work continues. And so let's go to the mainstream media and listen to how WCVB covered Maura's rollout of this $10 billion in savings. Okay.
Governor unveiling her plan to cut energy costs at the Veteran Center in Leominster, a community hit hard by high energy bills.
Going to take charges off your bills. For too long, it's been the practice to add more charges onto your bills. We're going to start removing a bunch of those things.
During the cold winter, customers were outraged over skyrocketing energy bills. The governor says her bill would expand energy supplies.
Grow energy supplies. This is a woman who killed 2 natural gas pipelines from Pennsylvania. Does this plan, including expanding, class, I'm going to ask you, does this plan include expanding natural gas supply to Massachusetts? I'll wait while you answer. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No. Because why? Because natural gas kills the planet. Natural gas kills the planet. Everybody knows that. Natural gas kills the planet. It's going to reform the solar surcharge.
Pay for mass save differently.
Actually, that's a big bullet point there. We won't get into it, but effectively, most of these savings is by paying for mass save differently. And if I understand it, they're going to pay for it like through a bonding mechanism, which is probably financially irresponsible because when you bond, you have to pay interest. Yeah.
Explore small-scale nuclear technologies and
small-scale nuclear. The left is having a flip out over this.
Expand the moderate income discount rate to gas customers.
All right, so talking about those last two things, Healey is attacking this 1982 law that theoretically, I think it's really just a straw man argument. Theoretically, we would have to repeal before we got a nuclear reactor. So basically, she's kind of sending us on, there's a phrase for that, down a rabbit hole. Oh, we can't do nuclear until we repeal this law. Why don't you guys go try that? It's a distraction. It's a distraction from really getting real nuclear power in. And the last thing there, expand discount rate for gas customers. Basically, that means that you're going to be paying more a tiered utility bill. So basically, you know how we have what do we want to say? Progressive tax structure for the federal government taxes. The more you make, the more you pay. And that's where we're going. We're going for an income test for your utility bill at a very, very high pace. At a very, very high pace. What I was concerned about yesterday was this other story that got rolled out, which I thought was way more or just as much as concerning. Did not get the headlines that I thought it deserved. And maybe actually it was announced yesterday so that it didn't get the headline. That was my thinking. But some of your larger utility companies here in Massachusetts, heralded by the Healy administration, are now rolling out a new smart meter for your electric usage for the side of your house. Let's take a listen to Fox 25. Hold on.
Says it will enhance your energy use. Change all existing electric meters in Massachusetts with smart meters. While the company says it will enhance your energy use, the exchange has a service fee and then another fee to have your meter read. But Boston 25 News reporter Jim Morelli explains these smart meters can estimate your bill ahead of time.
Oh, they can estimate my bill ahead of time. Perfect. And by the way, if you don't comply with the smart meter installation, guess what? They are now going to charge you to keep your traditional meter.
Medicine, technology, education. Massachusetts can lay claim to be a leader in many categories, but not in this one.
All across the country, people have
There's your old-fashioned meter with the spinny thing in there. Mine does not spin. My meter is a little bit more advanced than this. This is they'll tell you this is 130-year technology. But you know what the great part about it is? It's 130-year technology. We know it works, right? Tried, true, and dependent. It's just like your Volkswagen Beetle, right? You know that sucker's going to start. It might rust out, but it's going to start.
Already rolled out these meters and people are really enjoying them and understanding that it can help them save money on their.
Okay, so here comes the lie from Healy's energy secretary, Rebecca Tepper. People know it's going to save you money.
Electric bills.
Smart meters are finally coming to Massachusetts. Eversource announcing it will begin installation of the wireless energy monitoring devices this summer.
People will really be able to save money on their bills by being able to have better control over their electric use and when they use it.
So that's the pitch. You're going to get this wireless meter, and that's going to save you money. That's how they're going to sell that to you. Now, this strikes me as very much like what I heard in Texas a couple of years ago. Hold on, here we go here. No, there we go there. Where in Texas, they installed these smart thermostats. Here we go here. They installed these smart thermostats. Many Texans just found out they gave the energy companies remote control over their thermostats. So in Texas, if you participated in like their version of Mass Save, Texas installed these thermostats that they could remotely control. Yeah. And so let me just ask you, when you look at this report and you hear a bureaucrat like Rebecca Tepper tell you that everything's going to be great and that you'll save money, Do you think that the new electrical meters will be able to control your electric consumption? And do you think she'll tell you that? I think they will control your electric consumption, and I don't think she's going to want to tell you that right now. She just wants to sell you on the idea that it's going to save you money. And somewhere in the fine print, highly likely, we will find out that it's just like Texas from a couple of years ago, that many Texans just found out that they gave the energy companies remote control of their thermostats, or in this case, their electrical meters. That's exactly what's going to happen. And then when things like this happen in Massachusetts, like just happened in Spain. In Spain, you may not be aware, but a couple of weeks ago, they moved to almost all renewable green energy and then the thing collapsed just a couple of days later. And so that's exactly what happened in Texas a little while ago. And they had rolling blackouts in Texas. And that's when these Texans realized that they gave control of their thermostats over to the utility companies. Take a listen. Hold on. There we go. Had a little trouble with the audio today.
Look at a dark Reunion Tower this morning. Usually it's lit up, all colorful, but this morning it's dark as it is trying to conserve power after yet another request from ERCOT. The latest coming as a little bit of a surprise yesterday. Our Suzanne Bruner is monitoring the grid for us this morning. Frustrating for a lot of folks, Suzanne.
Yeah, really frustrating for so many people, Mark, especially since this is the second time since Monday that ERCOT has asked folks to conserve power because of the extreme heat that we have been experiencing. Here's a look at.
Now, understand, we would not have to have this type of report about the energy load, about the base load of energy in Massachusetts, if we had two gas pipelines from Pennsylvania that Maura killed. You see how this comes full circle? And if we weren't driving ourselves down the complete insanity rabbit hole of net zero by, 2050, right? That's just absolutely insane. And it's good to see that every once in a while we have a victory here in Massachusetts, for instance, with the truck mandate that just got suspended or postponed, I should say. And as these dates come closer, reality seems to strike. But that doesn't mean that incrementally along the way, they keep on pushing ourselves. They keep on pushing us to environmentally damaging and fiscally irresponsible and also undependable energy sources like they have in Texas with all the windmills, for instance. And they due to their green energy climate change religion. And basically it's going to cost you more and more. And I am thoroughly convinced that somewhere in the terms of service for these new smart meters, you're going to find that they allow the utility company to throttle or control your usage, just like the Texans just found out they gave energy companies remote control of their thermostats, right? You know I'm right about that. You absolutely know right about it. Mary says, you mean they control it. That's exactly right. So it'll probably, something, Mary, where you'll have a maximum amount that you can use for a single family home. And then, of course, maybe they could even maybe base that upon your income or the number of people live there. Like if you live in a, let's just say, 3,000 square foot home and you only have 3 people, they'll have some formula that says how much electricity you're allowed to. It's coming. It's coming. And why do they have all of that? Because natural gas, which we haven't stated here, but I'll remind all of you in the audience, natural gas is a great way to produce electricity, and they've curtailed the supply of natural gas. And nowhere in yesterday's plan that Haley released, the $10 billion in savings, nowhere in Haley's plan includes more natural gas, which is just absolutely insane. She sends you down this red herring path of we have to change this law from 1982. Well, why don't you go run over there and change that law? She tries to distract people into thinking that changing the law will be the start of some type of nuclear power revolution here in Massachusetts. Yeah, no, not buying it. And I think this utility meter thing, which if you don't comply, you're going to be charged more for. If you don't comply, you're going to be charged more for. Where is that? Somewhere here in the details. Here it is here. Oh, let me bring this up for you. But manual reading will cost $34 a month, Eversource said, plus a one-time service charge of $42. So, yeah, get out your calculator. This is the hidden fee. $34 a month times 12. That's another $408 to have a old-fashioned 130-year-old meter. So, yeah, somehow that got lost in yesterday's announcements. Let's see if we have any more comments. No, I don't think so. All right. I'm headed to the city today. You have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Bye-bye.